You know the internet you're using right this second? Well, it almost didn't happen. No, seriously. There was this hidden crisis that almost brought the whole thing crashing down, right when it was just getting started. So let's dive into the story of how the internet was basically doomed and how a super clever last-minute fix saved us all.
Yeah, I know it sounds super dramatic, but I'm not kidding. Back in 1996, the internet was heading straight for a mathematical brick wall. Its entire foundation was about to just crumble. If it weren't for a really clever solution, our digital world would look completely different today, like unrecognizable.
So what was this big, scary disaster all about? Well, it was a problem of scarcity. The internet was exploding in popularity way faster than anyone could have ever imagined, and it was quite literally running out of its most valuable resource, IP addresses. Okay, so to really get what was going on, we need to look at the very heart of how the internet actually works. This first part is all about that core problem, the internet's address crisis. All right, so a public IP address. What is it? It's basically the unique identifier for any device that wants to connect to the global internet. And the key word here, you got to remember this, is unique. It's just like a cell phone number for your computer. I mean, think about it. If two people had the same phone number, you'd call one and two different phones would ring. It would be total chaos, right? Same thing here.
Now, the original system, which we call IPv4, had about 4.3 billion possible unique addresses. And back in the early days, that number felt, well, it felt infinite. Who could possibly need more than 4.3 billion addresses? It seemed like a ridiculous amount. Well, surprise. It turns out we did. With the explosion of PCs, then smartphones, and now we have smart everything, right? We've got smart fridges, smart watches, even smart toilets. 4.3 billion just wasn't going to cut it. I mean, a single person might have dozens of devices in their house. The world's supply of these addresses was just draining away, and fast.
And this is where our story gets interesting. This is where our unlikely hero comes in. Faced with this massive crisis, some really smart engineers came up with this ingenious two-part solution. Let's start with part one. It was a really clever workaround, basically a giant Band-Aid for a problem that needed emergency surgery. And that Band-Aid was the creation of what we call private IP addresses. What the engineers did was they essentially carved out a few chunks from that public address pool and said, okay, these are off limits for the public internet. We're going to reserve them just for private use, inside our own local networks. And this created a huge difference. Public IPs, like we said, have to be unique across the entire globe. No two can be the same. But private IPs? No, they don't have to be. Your home network can use the exact same private addresses as my network and your neighbor's network, and it's totally fine. Why? Because they're designed to stay inside their own little network bubble. And these right here are the specific blocks they set aside. That last one, the 192.168 range, that probably looks familiar to some of you. It's the most common one used by home routers pretty much everywhere. So, okay, this solved the scarcity problem inside our homes, but it created a brand new puzzle. Exactly. If all your devices have these private addresses that, by design, can't connect to the internet, then how on earth are you watching this right now, right? This is where the second part of the solution comes in. This is where the real magic happens.
Okay, let's bring in the second hero of our story, a process called network address translation, or just NAT for short. This is the magic that makes that whole private IP Band-Aid actually work.
So NAT is like this brilliant translator, this go-between. It's a process that your router handles, and it allows all of your devices, every single one with its own private IP, to share the one single public IP address that your internet provider loans to your home. And this is a perfect way to explain how it works. Think of your router as Oprah. Your smart toilet with its little private IP says, hey, Oprah, I want to see NetworkChuck.coffee. Your router, Oprah, takes that request, slaps its own public IP address on it as the return address, and sends it out to the internet. When the coffee pictures come back, Oprah remembers, oh yeah, it was the toilet that asked for this, and delivers it to the right device. It's juggling all these requests for every single device in your house, and it does it flawlessly. It's amazing. Okay, so let's bring this home. Let's make it real. How does this whole setup actually work for you right now, as you're sitting there watching this?
Well, it's kind of a trick question, because you actually have two of them. You've got the private one your device is using right this second, and then you have the public one that the entire internet sees.
So if you were to dig into your computer or your phone's network settings, you'd probably see an address that looks something like this. This is its local private address. It's not special to you. In fact, millions of people have this exact same IP address inside their own homes. But if you go to Google and just type in, "What is my IP address?" you're going to see something totally different. This is your public IP, the one your internet provider assigned to your router. This is the one face your entire network shows to the world. So here's the bottom line. Thanks to this thing called NAT, your computer, your phone, your tablet, your smart toilet, all of it is funneled through one single public identity. It is an incredible, elegant trick that massively conserved the number of public IP addresses we needed. It saved the day. Now, you'd think this amazing fix would have solved the problem for good, right? But the internet's growth was, well, it was just too explosive. That Band-Aid that worked so well for so long was starting to peel off. Even with NAT, we were still in trouble.
Yeah, that Band-Aid held on for decades, but it couldn't last forever. We did eventually officially run out of new IPv4 addresses to hand out. The temporary fix had bought us a ton of time, but we needed a permanent long-term solution.
And that permanent solution is IPv6. I mean, just looking at them side by side tells the whole story, doesn't it? We went from this system of 4 simple numbers to this long, complex string of numbers and letters. It's a monumental upgrade. So how big is this upgrade? Well, the number of possible IPv6 addresses is 2 to the power of 128. That is a number so ridiculously vast, it's hard to even wrap your head around it. It's enough to give every single grain of sand on planet Earth its own unique IP address, and you'd still have trillions and trillions left over. The point is, we are not going to be running out of addresses again, ever. So that brings us to the final and I think most fascinating question. IPv6 is clearly the future, it solves the problem for good, so why do we still rely so heavily on this 50-year-old system, IPv4? Well, it's because that temporary Band-Aid, that combination of private IPs and NAT, wasn't just some clever fix. It accidentally became the foundation for network security and simplicity in our homes. It was a patch so good, so useful, that it's now a permanent, essential feature of the internet that we really can't imagine living without. Something to think about the next time you connect to your Wi-Fi.